Welcome back to Proline. Man, do we have some great information to tell you about what these guys have been doing. Al, Vegas game of the year, Vegas strip move game of the year, Fresno. They spotted the other team a few points in the beginning, but you knew they were coming back. 42-10 over the last 2 years?
Oh, yeah, actually 41-10. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here.
Well, I'm anticipating this week's win.
Yeah, but hey, we went against Utah State last week, but when we fell behind 14-0, I knew we'd come back. That Utah State team, they're not too good at holding leads this year. But that was a great win with Fresno State. We had a record number of calls. We're going to do something a little bit different this weekend, Jim. We're going to turn toward our Fortune 500 Club plays. Now, faithful followers know these are the games sold for $500 online. Had a big winner last Sunday with the Dallas Cowboys. These games now, college football, documented since 2005, 81-39, sold for $500 online. NFL plays 62% lifetime online. This week, we're knocking off $451. You're going to get either the college or the pro or both for just $49. Great offer. Stay tuned for details.
Al, a lot of people are making a lot of money on your picks, and I'm sure the ones that haven't been, they're going to be calling this week. We're going to move over to Dave Coken. Dave, your ACC game of the year, and I know how well these have done over the years. You got one this week.
Yeah, well, I'm big on, we all have different methodologies. Mine is get your eyes on the game and learn the personnel and do the matchups. And watching last week's ACC games, at the conclusion of the day, this was absolutely no doubt in my mind. And there's a game that's going to be an absolutely cinch winner on next week's schedule. Well, next week's schedule is here. Love where the number is on this game. It's basically a power-rated line. There's nothing wrong with that, and the power ratings are accurate. But in this situation, based on what I saw last week and what I think the matchup is, this game's going to absolutely annihilate the line. So, very much like Al, by the way, he's got a play that's selling for really big money online that you can save 90% on. Well, I'm doing the same thing. This is my 550 club game. That's how much it sells for online. You get the game for $49 with a guarantee, plus my NFL game of the month as well. It's pretty good, and the games are going to get there.
And the reason you discounted that is you want people out there to know and get a taste of this, because for years you've been winning games like this.
Well, yeah, and the fact is most people aren't betting enough to justify spending $550 on one selection. So these are games that are not normally available to average-sized players. This one is.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to win a lot of money so they aren't average-sized players
then
anymore.
They can spend the $550
go up and spend the $550.
That's the idea.
Scott, what a week you had. 11-1. Were you like on drugs or something? 11-1 in college football. I mean, that's amazing.
After he went 11-1,
then he took the drugs. No, that's tequila night, right? But I mean, 11.
Bring it on.
Like the old days, right?
What?
Like the old days.
I don't remember the old days.
But seriously, 11-1 in college football. Now, you're 8-1 your last 9 tap-out games, bringing your record to 39-17 in tap-outs. Now, what qualifies for a tap-out?
Well, first of all, we took Dave Coken's no-sweat weekend to heart. And we thought we were all supposed to have a no-sweat weekend when he mentioned that last week. So we had a great college football week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, of going 11-1, 92% winners. And we hit everything at the top, including the ACC tap-out game of the year with Florida State over Duke. Came back on Sunday, hit another tap-out with the Baltimore Ravens. As you mentioned now, Jim, 4-0 the last couple of weeks. Perfection with these tap-out plays. And we're focused. There's no drugs involved. There's no drinking involved. It's all about beating the spread. And that's how well we've done. And I have no idea what he's talking about when he says the old days, but this week we've got a great offer going on, and it includes my next conference tap-out game of the year on Saturday and a tap-out total annihilator in the NFL on Sunday. Now, these over-under plays are on a 10-3 run, so we've been winning just about everywhere. It's been an outstanding season, but outstanding decades. Not to age you. But Jim's on this incredible run with college football games of the year, NFL games of the year also, but we're talking college football today. I know you got a big play, 10-1-1, 91% winners with your last 12 games of the year. Are you on drugs?
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Whether I take drugs or I don't take drugs, but if I could pick 11-1 every Saturday, I'd be taking drugs just to do it. I mean, that's an incredible record, and thank you for bringing up my game of the year. I'm really high on this game, and Actually, I'm going to get really high on this game. In all sincerity, we're having a lot of fun here today. Why are we having fun? Because we're winning money. And if you're winning money, you're going to have fun too. And you're going to be smiling and making jokes. And I'm going to go home after the show and have a couple tequilas. Thank you. But this game is, like Scott said, 10-1-1 the last since 1999, 90% winners. And the game qualifies under a lot of different ways of looking at it. I look at things a lot of different ways. I look at what the odds makers believe the public is going to conceive the game to be. And usually once or twice a week, they make a really big mistake. They make a lot of little mistakes, but there's a really big one this weekend, and I'm going to take advantage of that. When I say take advantage of it, I play pretty high on these games, and I'm not suggesting you play any higher than is comfortable, okay? But this game is going to win. And if it doesn't win, for some reason, you get the rest of my executive service plays right through the bowl games absolutely free. It's a $29 call that you have to make to get this game, 1-866-841-1655. This is my college game of the year, and it will win. And I'll tell you what, we're coming back. We're going to talk about Oklahoma State and Missouri, and we're going to pick some winners in that game too. I've been handicapping sports for over 40 years, and I've learned many lessons, some good, some not so good. But when I spot a game that everything lines up, statistically, fundamentally, everything that matters in sports handicapping, I call it my college game of the year. That's what's happening this week in Saturday's game. I love this game so much, I am going to call it my college game of the year. And since 1999, I've had 12 of these. The record is 10-1-1, 90%. And the average score is 47-16. When I have a big play, I unload on this game. I will be unloading on this game this Saturday. That's right. And I want you to be there with me. Just call 1-866-841-1655. This game is guaranteed to win, or all of my executive plays through the bowl games is yours for free. But this game is going to win. Like I said, I'm 90% on these games since 1999. You make the call, I'm going to pick the game, and you're going to collect the money. 1-866-841-1655. You don't want to miss out on this game. This is a winner, I'm a winner, and you're going to be a winner. This is a big game. Oklahoma State at Missouri. Oklahoma State is ranked. Missouri is not. Oklahoma State's undefeated, 6-0. Straight up and ATS. That's right, straight up and ATS. And that's one of these teams in the top 10 that just cover every week for fun. Missouri's 3-3, 3-2 against the spread. Pretty good team, Missouri. Maybe a little bit better on defense than Oklahoma State, but this Oklahoma State offense is pretty incredible. Scott, what do you think?
Well, I started looking at the total in this one because everybody just assumes that Oklahoma State's going to, do what they did against Kansas, and there's going to be 70 to 28 games and 56-38 games and things of that nature. But if you look what's already happened on the Big 12 road so far for the Oklahoma State Cowboys against A&M and last week against Texas, you kind of see what they've done over the last 3 seasons. The second half of the season, when this team goes on the road, 8-0, 8 straight to the under, and the average combined point total is 41.6 points per game, which means their conference opponents kind of know and have gotten used to what Oklahoma State's doing, especially when the Cowboys leave Stillwater and go on the road. And if you look at what happened against A&M, unfortunately, I had A&M in that game. They were up 20-3 at the half, and Oklahoma State couldn't do anything. And then 3 third-quarter turnovers in a row by A&M changed the entire complexion of the game, and Oklahoma State came back and won the contest. Last week against Texas, Whedon was just an average passer. He was 23 for 41, 218 yards, and I think you're going to see that continue in this one. The total sitting around 68.5 as we talk about this game, and I think you're going to see a game that ends up probably in the mid-50s. Now, Missouri, they're a little bit down. They're still a really good football team. They're a little bit down from previous editions because they don't have that Heisman Trophy contender at quarterback and great wide receivers yet, only because they're young. James Franklin's going to be a player. But anyway, I like the under here, Al.
Yeah, you mentioned turnovers, and that's the big thing for me in this ballgame. Take a look at what Oklahoma State has done the last 4 weeks. Now, they've had a turnover differential of plus 3.25. That doesn't continue. Turnovers are very random, especially fumbles. And you take a look at what this team has done. They're covering the spread because of the turnovers. They're not really out-statting their opponents. They played Texas, Kansas, A&M, and Tulsa. They've only outgained these 4 teams by an average of 60 yards a game. and since they've been favored by about 12 points on average in these 4 games, that's not what you would expect from a 12-point favorite. They're covering these games because of turnovers. Last week we saw the nation's leader in turnovers, Rutgers, finally lose the turnover war to Navy, and that's the primary reason why they didn't cover the spread. Rutgers has for the season now a differential of plus 2.17. These things turn, and this Oklahoma State team, they're just really in a bad situation here on the road. The turnovers is one reason why I want to go against this team. The other reason is that, hey, as we mentioned, they're undefeated, and the tariff is really high on them right now. And if you take a look at how teams do in college football when they get off to that 5-0 start, 6-0, 7-0, the number just gets way too, frothy for them to cover. And when these teams go on the road and they face a team that has revenge, and if that revenge team is off a win, these teams are 43-87 against the spread, going all the way back to 1990 with a record of 5-0 or better. So I think everything sets up great for the Missouri Tigers here. You also look at the home-road dichotomy, guys. Missouri, 3-0 at home, 0-3 on the road. Missouri's won 10 straight in Columbia. This is a great spot for the Tigers. They play with revenge from that loss in their last meeting to Oklahoma State. I love Missouri in this spot, guys.
Gary Pinkles turned Faurot Field in Columbia into a really tough place to play. He's done a great job of recruiting. I can remember when Woody Widenhofer was there at Warren Powers, and I used to think that this team is a sleeping giant. If they can get somebody in there who stays around and can recruit those East St. Louis players, East St. Louis, Illinois, which is a fertile recruiting ground, and especially back in the 80s, that Missouri can become a real player. I wanted to mention one more thing that I forgot to earlier. 11 of Oklahoma State's 15 possessions last week, 5 plays or less, only 2 of those 11 ended in scores. Maybe not as powerful as most people think they are when they go on the road in conference play.
Well, you talk about the defensive side of the ball for Oklahoma State. They're not very good on defense, and they were just an average team on defense, and they're giving up 7 points in this game to Missouri, so your points are well taken. And talk about these undefeated teams. There's a bunch of teams in the top 10, the rankings in the polls, but they've been winning for fun this year, and they're actually killing the bookmakers because people just keep betting these big favorites.
Yeah, but you have to pick your spots. I mean, last week Georgia Tech fell into this 87-43 system where you'd go against the team, going against that revenging foe on the road off a win, and Georgia Tech didn't get there against Virginia. The system was 1-0 last week. So when you go against these teams, you have to pick your spots. You can't just do it blindly.
Well, talking about blinding, I mean, if you go blind with just the top 10 teams in the country so far,
unbelievable.
It's an amazing record. Somebody here has it 40-something and 10 or something.
Yeah, but that generally turns when you get into the second half of the season when the teams are 5-0, 6-0, 7-0.
Yeah.
This is when these
and they
teams
get into conference play also now.
At this point, you probably miss the wedding and going to show up to the funeral.
Right.
If you start doing that.
But the thing is that this year,
I thought the wedding was the funeral. I'm sorry.
Have you ever seen a year where there's more people who are consistently just getting hammered from year to year? They're just walking around and loving life right now. It does turn, though.
Yep. It does turn, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about another huge game, USC and Notre Dame.
Hi, I'm Scott Spritzer, and you and I went 11-1, 92% in college football last week at Smash Mouth Sports. We cashed another top 5 countdown. We cashed our countdown game of the year with Temple, and we swept our tap-outs again with Florida State and the Baltimore Ravens. Hey, I'm 8-1, 89% with my last 9 football tap-outs, including 4-0 the last 2 weeks. 11-1, 8-1, 4-0. That's a combined 23-2, 92% gridiron winners. Call me now and get my next conference tap-out game of the year on Saturday, plus my tap-out total annihilator game of the year in Sunday's NFL. It's all yours for $25. Call 1-866-896-1627. That's 1-866-896-1627. Make the call as we look to extend our 92% winning run.
Hi, I'm Big Al McMorty, and we won our Vegas Strip Moves College Football Game of the Year last week on Fresno State, and for the second week in a row had a record number of calls. To celebrate, we're going to do something really special this week. We're going to give a 90% discount on our Fortune 500 Club play. These games are sold online for $500, and they're a documented 81-39 since 2005 in college football online, and 62% lifetime in the NFL online. But here, I'm going to knock off $451, and you can get either our college or NFL Fortune 500 Club play, or both, for just $49 a piece. Call 866-896-1628 and take advantage of this special offer. That's 866-896-1628. Call now.
Dave, this is a huge game. USC, Notre Dame, big rivalry. They play all the time, back and forth. You know, I think there's a revenge spot here for USC. They lost last year to Notre Dame, and
they lost a lot to Notre Dame.
You know, that's true. The Notre Dame starts the year off, couple losses.
Yep.
Nobody's really talking about them, but you think they're actually very underrated at this point.
I've never seen this before, ever. I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. You know, it's one thing for a team to maybe be slightly underrated, but Notre Dame, it doesn't happen with Notre Dame, and they're actually not slightly underrated. They're way underrated, okay? I'm telling you, Notre Dame is one of the 10 best teams in the country. I know they lost the 2 games at the beginning of the year. They had the turnover issues. But you look at this team, watch them. They've got a ton of speed. They play smart. The quarterback is Reese. You know, that was a mistake that Kelly made at the beginning of the year. Probably cost himself 1 game at least by starting the wrong guy. He should have started the guy who was unbeaten last year under center, and that's Reese. He didn't do it. But Reese is out there now. The receivers are terrific. They can run the ball. The defense is outstanding. This team is flat out loaded. They are a top 10 football team. USC isn't. USC's pretty good, but I'm going to tell you what, from what I've seen, guys, I don't know that Lane Kiffin is the long-term answer at USC. We'll see. I mean, I'm not going to say, get him out of there, he's no good. But I think he gets out-coached. I think he has in a few games. Maybe he'll get better. I also wonder about whether he's going to get all the athletes down there that he needs to get. So I'm not sure how rosy the future is for USC. And while they're a quality football team, they're going to lose some games before the season's over. And this is one of them. I think there's a lot of guys around town whose opinions I respect, Jim, who will probably take USC in this game, thinking it's a big number. USC is going to be fired up for this. They will. This is one of the big games on the USC schedule. Not many meaningful games because of their probation situation, but this one's a big game for them, and they'll come hard. But I got to tell you something, man for man, Notre Dame is flat out better than they are. I think the coach is better than they are. The game's at South Bend. I think the Irish are going to win the game by. I don't think they'll kill the spread. I don't expect them to beat them by 30, but double figures, that's enough.
Well, you're looking at 8.5, 9 points in this game, and your total is 57.5. I look for a lot of points in this game, and when you have teams that can score, granted, I think Notre Dame is a better team as well, especially after you eliminate those first couple of games. Different quarterback, different situation. But backdoor covers are always available in situations like this. USC is a quality, which a lot of people would call a power underdog.
Yeah, that's why they're going to bet them.
That's and over the years, power underdogs, top-rated teams getting a lot of points is money. It's it's about 60%. So you're going against the 60% system trend, whatever you want to call it, by laying this kind of number. And you could, Notre Dame's a popular team. You could be looking at 10, or you may get a 9.5 and you buy it to 10. So you're talking about value. The value in this game is probably with the dog. But
I don't disagree.
But I do agree with you. Notre Dame's a better team.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame. I really think Notre Dame's underrated. Just to make it clear, I'm not playing this game. I don't want anybody to. I'm making a case for Notre Dame. There's a lot better bets than this one out there on Saturday. If I had to play the game, I would take Notre Dame because I think they're really good. Again, I think they're a top 10 team. I think USC is kind of a borderline top 25 team. So I think there's a pretty good gap. I'm not sure if USC is a power dog to me this year. Power name, but not really a power dog. But a lot better opportunities to make money than this one.
The other thing is Notre Dame as a home favorite. The last 24 times they're 8-16. Yep. I will be on the dog here if I can get the right number. If I see 9.5, I'll buy it to 10, take the dog, because it's a value play. It's not a situation play for me, but that power dog situation at plus 10, 9.5, I have to go that way. This will not be my game of the year. It'll be a marginal play, but I'll have some money on it for sure. And you want to put some money on it by coming back. We're going to talk about some betting and wagering things that will put money in your pocket. I've been handicapping sports for over 40 years, and I've learned many lessons, some good, some not so good. But when I spot a game that everything lines up, statistically, fundamentally, everything that matters in sports handicapping, I call it my college game of the year. That's what's happening this week in Saturday's game. I love this game so much, I am going to call it my college game of the year. And since 1999, I've had 12 of these. The record is 10-1-1, 90%. And the average score is 47-16. When I have a big play, I unload on this game. I will be unloading on this game this Saturday. That's right. And I want you to be there with me. Just call 1-866-841-1655. This game is guaranteed to win, or all of my executive plays through the bowl games is yours for free. But this game is going to win. Like I said, I'm 90% on these games since 1999. You make the call, I'm going to pick the game, and you're going to collect the money. 1-866-841-1655. You don't want to miss out on this game. This is a winner, I'm a winner, and you're going to be a winner.
As soon as last Saturday's games ended, I knew I'd be all over one ACC game this week. This is my ACC game of the year, and I absolutely love this game. If you're playing to win, this is a game you want. You can buy it online for $500, or you can make one call to 1-866-841-1665 and get the game for just $49. And that's with a guarantee that the game wins, or you get my college action for the rest of the season free. Plus, when you call, I'm also going to include my NFL Game of the Month at no cost. So be sure to take advantage now. Make the call to 1-866-841-1665 and get set to win big with my ACC Game of the Year.
Okay, this week we have Chicago going to Tampa Bay, or actually playing Tampa Bay in London. We want to talk about this idea of sending teams overseas to play and what kind of effect it has. Now, they go over there, they're playing on a soccer field, different kind of field conditions for these teams. We've been doing this, I think, 3-4 years. And one of the things Dave brought up, and he'll talk about, is, the NFL is totally against betting and et cetera, but they have a sports book right there in that stadium. and maybe maybe you can't bet on this football game in the stadium, and you really have to go out of your way to bet. You have to walk across the street.
I was going to say a couple blocks away.
It's right across the street.
But how do you think this affects all this travel going overseas to play this game?
I travel a lot. I mean, it doesn't affect me. I can't really imagine it affects the players either. I mean, everyone's different, but
Your per carry average goes down about 0.5 yards, though.
But they get a week off after the game, so I think it's a total non-issue.
Well, how about this? They're taking their wives and girlfriends with them. They're packing and they're going over to the shop. Okay, and
how's this different than going to New York City?
Well, it's different because the dollar doesn't go as far against the euro.
So that's good. They're spending less money.
No, they're spending more.
No, spending less.
They're spending more.
No, the pound's more expensive.
Well, that's what, if you're going to buy something in Harrods over there, going to cost you more money.
It costs you more money.
It costs you more money to go over there in the shop.
No, that's we agree. Yeah, so they're buying less.
So now we know.
Oh no! If the women see a purse over there for
you're
$15,000, it's now going to cost them $17,500.
The good old days for Al was last night.
See, I guess I'm just different than those guys, because when I see something more expensive, I don't buy it.
No, they're not buying. It's the wives and the girlfriends that are buying. They're not going to say no to them. You know that.
Okay.
I mean, right now you're single and you're free, so you don't have to worry about that. But when you have a girl in your life, they control a lot of things.
This is what amuses me. It's not the worst idea in the world for the NFL to continue to try and get their brand around the world. But this is the game that really irritates me from this standpoint. This is the ultimate hypocrisy the National Football League shows here. Because you're joking around about the betting. The NFL hates Las Vegas. I mean, every year comes Super Bowl time, we're not even allowed to use Super Bowl. And I'm not speaking of us specifically. Well, we can't either. But even the casinos, they can't advertise Super Bowl party out here. They have to call it the big game. I'm not making this up. This is not bullshit. They actually have to put the big game party or something like that. Can't do it. And yet, because, it's gambling, and yet, you go and play a football game in a stadium where they've got a sports book in the stadium, and somehow, for some stupid reason, again, the NFL at work, I guess they're not allowed, you can't make the bet in the stadium. They somehow have gotten it off the board But they've got they've got these things all over the place. Literally across the street from the stadium, you can go make a legal bet there. The NFL is so full of crap, it's amazing. It's amazing. Great businessmen. They've made a phenomenal amount of money. I love watching the games. It's an incredibly successful league, but this is where I guess I hate them.
A league started by bookies, and you can't bet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Bookies and bootleggers. Bookies and bootleggers, right. And this is where they drive me nuts because the NFL dislikes this city so much. And believe me, I'm not looking at it from a selfish standpoint. It doesn't matter to me. People are going to call and bet the games anyway.
I want to take exception to what you just said, okay? While I agree with you, they fight against gambling openly. In the back rooms, they absolutely know this is where their bread is buttered. No question about it.
That's why they put the injury reports out.
They know absolutely if there was absolutely no gambling, illegal or legal, on the NFL, they would collapse in 5 minutes. Because this is, when you get a game where the score is 39-10 in the fourth quarter, and you know who's going to win, guess what happens to the channel? Click.
You don't
it's
even
gone.
have to see that.
You're watching reruns of something or an old movie or a sitcom. This is what makes the league, and they know it. The reason they do this, which is why they don't hate gambling, they're trying to be politically correct because there's a big part of our country that does hate gambling, but they do tune into the game.
Why do they have to pretend?
Because we live in a hypocritical society.
It's just
your politicians tell you what you want to hear until they're elected. Then they do what they want to do.
The most absurd thing.
That's what everybody does.
The NFL actually. I mean, this to anybody who's got an objection to the gambling. I've always said, the NFL does support. They actually do support. In fact, they want you to bet on games. The proof of that, the injury reports. Why else would they release all this information to the public? And you have to be, and now they want you to be accurate. You can't just phony up the injury reports and say, well, he's probably, but Tom Brady used to be on the injury report every single week. Like Tom Brady's going to miss a game. And that's specifically for bettors. So, they're lying for their teeth.
If you talk about hypocrisy, it goes all over. We have lotteries all over the country.
Yep.
We have horse racing all over the country. But you can't play poker? You can't bet on a sporting event?
Have you seen the Sunday night and Monday night matchups this week? Do you think anybody would be watching if it wasn't for point spreads other than the people that live in those cities?
How about college sports? Well, you get teams that are 40-point favorites that win the game 70-3. Who's going to watch this game unless they're getting 45 and hope they can cover it? It's absurd. But that's our society. They're the rules we have to live with, and we are.
Let me do. Politicians don't keep their promises.
Can you name one? No, I can't.
I can name one.
We're going to come back and we're going to actually talk about the Bears and the Tampa Bay Bucks. There is a line on the game. There's a total on the game. Somebody is going to win and somebody's going to collect the money. We're going to tell you who.
Hi, I'm Big Al McMorty, and we won our Vegas Strip Moves College Football Game of the Year last week on Fresno State, and for the second week in a row, had a record number of calls. To celebrate, we're going to do something really special this week. We're going to give a 90% discount on our Fortune 500 Club play. These games are sold online for $500, and they're a documented 81-39 since 2005 in college football online, and 62% lifetime in the NFL online. But here, I'm going to knock off $451, and you can get either our college or NFL Fortune 500 Club play, or both, for just $49 a piece. Call 866-896-1628 and take advantage of the special offer. That's 866-896-1628. Call now.
As soon as last Saturday's games ended, I knew I'd be all over one ACC game this week. This is my ACC game of the year, and I absolutely love this game. If you're playing to win, this is a game you want. You can buy it online for $500, or you can make one call to 1-866-841-1665 and get the game for just $49. And that's with a guarantee that the game wins, or you get my college action for the rest of the season free. Plus, when you call, I'm also going to include my NFL Game of the Month at no cost. So be sure to take advantage now. Make the call to 1-866-841-1665 and get set to win big with my ACC Game of the Year.
We're looking at the Chicago Bears going to London to play Tampa Bay. Chicago, my personal feeling is Jay Cutler could be a top quarterback in this league if he had an offensive coordinator that cared about his health. And lately, that's happening a little bit because they're running Forte a little bit more. And Cutler, he's got a big arm, man. Al, he can throw the ball a long way on a line. He can definitely hit his receivers.
Yeah, Chicago, I mean, when they're good, they look really, really good. The problem is it's about every third week. Last week was one of them, 39-10 blowout of Minnesota. I think that sets up this play, Dave. When the NFL teams win by 23 more points and go on the road, long term now, they've been covering about 35% versus an opponent off a win. That's the situation here. They're away from home, so technically on the road. I'm going to take Tampa Bay against the Bears.
The one thing that I kind of looking at this game, I think it has to be analyzed a little bit differently than a game that's being played over here, because the travel factor is one thing. The other thing is the field conditions over there. It's a soccer field. It's not a football stadium, and from what I gather, the turf probably a little bit softer, the grass a little bit longer. And believe me, they're not going to convert it into, we've got one NFL game. Well, they're not going to mess it up for the soccer teams that are playing over there. So they'll maintain those conditions. I think that's got to make things a little bit tougher on the offenses. And also, let's face it, the Bears haven't exactly been noted for putting back-to-back brilliant offensive performances together this year. Tampa's not a great offensive team by any stretch of the imagination. Nice game last week by Tampa, certainly coming back from that disaster against San Francisco. But the Bears, they've been an over team, but I think this game's going to stay under the total.
Well, I couldn't disagree with you because with that kind of grass field, you could get it. Definitely slows down the runners, the receivers, everything. But it's going to be an interesting game to watch for sure. We're going to come right back. We're going to talk about Pittsburgh visiting Arizona.
Hi, I'm Scott Spritzer, and you and I went 11-1, 92% in college football last week at Smash Mouth Sports. We cashed another top 5 countdown. We cashed our countdown game of the year with Temple, and we swept our tapouts again with Florida State and the Baltimore Ravens. Hey, I'm 8-1, 89% with my last 9 football tapouts, including 4-0 the last 2 weeks. 11-1, 8-1, 4-0. That's a combined 23-2, 92% gridiron winners. Call me now and get my next conference tap-out game of the year on Saturday, plus my tap-out total annihilator game of the year in Sunday's NFL. It's all yours for $25. Call 1-866-896-1627. That's 1-866-896-1627. Make the call as we look to extend our 92% winning run.
I've been handicapping sports for over 40 years, and I've learned many lessons, some good, some not so good. But when I spot a game that everything lines up, statistically, fundamentally, everything that matters in sports handicapping, I call it my college game of the year. That's what's happening this week in Saturday's game. I love this game so much, I am going to call it my college game of the year. And since 1999, I've had 12 of these. The record is 10-1-1, 90%. And the average score is 47-16. When I have a big play, I unload on this game. I will be unloading on this game this Saturday. That's right. And I want you to be there with me. Just call 1-866-841-1655. This game is guaranteed to win, or all of my executive plays through the bowl games is yours for free. But this game is going to win. Like I said, I'm 90% on these games since 1999. You make the call, I'm going to pick the game, and you're going to collect the money. 1-866-841-1655. You don't want to miss out on this game. This is a winner, I'm a winner, and you're going to be a winner. Pittsburgh Steelers, last year in the Super Bowl, this year, not so much. They're a bit older, not playing as well, very inconsistent. Yes, they have the weapons, but are they still the old Super Bowl quality team?
They're having a hard time keeping Ben from getting a lot of pressure. You look at what he did last year. He's almost got as many interceptions this year that he had all of last year. He didn't play the entire season last year, but he played, I believe it was 12 games. And he was sacked 3 more times last week. Very interesting game last week. Their first 3 possessions, they had something like 220 yards and 17 points. Their next 7 possessions, 30 plays, 66 yards, 0 points. how in the world do you go from moving up and down the field at 7 or 8 yards a pop to getting literally nothing over the final 3 quarters of play? It surprised me a little bit. But did you guys hear? Did you hear the one out of Phoenix? Arizona thought Kevin Cobb was the answer at quarterback, and he is. If the question is, which quarterback in the NFL makes you miss Matt Leinart the most?
Well, he's only been there a short time. They're coming off a bye week. He has a lot of talent. Philadelphia put a lot of stock in him, but then gave up on him and stayed with Michael Vick, which I'm not too sure they're happy about anymore. But the Pittsburgh is not the same team because they've aged. They've got injuries. Their offensive line problems are there. They're not running the ball like they used to. And so I think you're going to get an up-and-down performance from this team pretty much the rest of the year. And if they have another offensive line issue going down the road, somebody else gets hurt.
Here's the thing, Jim. Also, you would look at this contest as a matchup handicapper and say Pittsburgh Mendenhall should be able to run the football this week, and the Arizona pass defense stinks.
Yep.
But then you've got the former Pittsburgh players who are now coaching the Arizona Cardinals, who seem to know how to coach against Tomlin. So it's an interesting little thing going on there right now, a little situation. But just from a matchup perspective, doesn't Mendenhall break out and have a big game here? Doesn't Ben find time to throw and complete his passes? Polamalu, what was announced earlier this week, he looks like he's going to play on Sunday. So for me, I got to lean towards Pittsburgh in this game for those reasons. But I just worry about the Wisenhunt situation, the connection, and Graham and all that kind of stuff for the Arizona Cardinals.
I don't really have a strong feeling on this game, but I'm looking at the total and I'm saying 42 in the game. We've had a lot of games go over the total in the league. Now, last week there was a lot of unders, and I think the trend is going to start to go to the under, especially with bad weather coming up on the East Coast and stuff. But you're not going to have bad weather in this game. It's in Arizona. The weather will be nice. It'll be warm. I look for a lot of points in this game because Arizona has really no defense. They don't play defense, but they do have some wide receivers. Kolb can throw the ball. If Roethlisberger doesn't get a lot of pressure, he can complete. He's got some speed at wide receiver. They can move the football. They're not the same old grinded-out kind of football team they used to be. So I'm going to look for this game to go over. And we're going to come back. We're going to talk about some best bets.
As soon as last Saturday's games ended, I knew I'd be all over one ACC game this week. This is my ACC game of the year, and I absolutely love this game. If you're playing to win, this is a game you want. You can buy it online for $500, or you can make one call to 1-866-841-1665 and get the game for just $49. And that's with a guarantee that the game wins, or you get my college action for the rest of the season free. Plus, when you call, I'm also going to include my NFL Game of the Month at no cost. So be sure to take advantage now. Make the call to 1-866-841-1665 and get set to win big with my ACC Game of the Year.
I've been handicapping sports for over 40 years, and I've learned many lessons, some good, some not so good. But when I spot a game that everything lines up, statistically, fundamentally, everything that matters in sports handicapping, I call it my college game of the year. That's what's happening this week in Saturday's game. I love this game so much, I am going to call it my college game of the year. And since 1999, I've had 12 of these. The record is 10-1-1, 90%. And the average score is 47-16. When I have a big play, I unload on this game. I will be unloading on this game this Saturday. That's right. And I want you to be there with me. Just call 1-866-841-1655. This game is guaranteed to win, or all of my executive plays through the bowl games is yours for free. But this game is going to win. Like I said, I'm 90% on these games since 1999. You make the call, I'm going to pick the game, and you're going to collect the money. 1-866-841-1655. You don't want to miss out on this game. This is a winner, I'm a winner, and you're going to be a winner. Well, welcome back. We got our best bets. Al, you started off.
Well, with apologies to Mike Gundy and his folks from Stillwater there, they're great at home. They just don't travel as well as they do play at home. I'm going to go against Oklahoma State. I'm going to take Missouri plus the 7 points, and if you can get 7.5, that's a bonus. That's my best bet for the show. Your best bet to take advantage of our weekend offer here. We've got our Fortune 500 Club plays sold online. These plays, guys, 81 and 39 documented since 2005 in college football. NFL, 62% lifetime online. So we've got a weekend offer for you. You can take advantage of Saturday or Sunday or both and get $451 off for Fortune 500 Club plays. That's right. It's not $500 when you call 866-896-1628. It's just $49. Get Saturday, get Sunday, or get both. $49 a piece. 866-896-1628 or Fortune 500 Club play. Do not sleep on this special offer.
You know what, Al? I'm going to go to the same game, and I think you've got the right side in that game. I think you're going to see some of the unbeatens fall, or at least a couple of the unbeatens fall this week, and Oklahoma State one of them. So let's go with a Missouri upset for my best bet here on the show. Monster play on Saturday. It's my ACC Game of the Year. And again, a lot of my stuff is based on the eye test and then some conversions that I do mathematically. There's a game that to me is a mismatch to the number this week in the ACC. And off what I saw last week, I absolutely love this game. And I don't use that word that often. I'm not real big on a lot of hype. But I do love this game. $49. The game sells for $5.50 online. Not $5.50, $550. It's a big play. And there are people who will spend that. You don't have to. It's $49. I'll guarantee the game wins, or you get the rest of my college season, all my action plays at no cost. Plus, I'm going to include my NFL game of the month, no additional cost for that. 1-866-841-1665, just $49 for that big ACC Game of the Year. Scott, monster weekend for you last weekend. When you get hot, you stay that way.
Yeah, and it usually starts in October, and we continue right through the end of the season. And that's, like Dave just said, we had that great week last week. First, I want to mention the pick of the week here for us on the show is going to be the under in that Missouri game against Oklahoma State. For all those reasons I told you earlier, I mean, Oklahoma State, if it does go under in English, it'll be the 9th straight time they've gone under on the road in the second half of a football season over the past 3 years. Hey, the best bet this week, it's a tap-out weekend. You call me, you say tap out, and then you go to the bank. It's been as simple as that. We're looking for our third straight tap-out weekend sweep. 4-0 the last 2 weeks in college and pro football. 8-1 our last 9. That's 89% winners. 39-17 our last 56 overall. Last week we hit our ACC tap-out of the year with the Florida State Seminoles dusting off Duke. Came back on Sunday, hit the Baltimore Ravens. We've got a conference game of the year going this week on Saturday, tap-out game of the year, and coming back on Sunday with a tap-out total. And these total annihilators are 10-3. So we're just kicking tail all over the place. Give me a call toll-free, 1-866-896-1627. Only $25 for both tap-outs, 866-896-1627. And Jim, you got the big one going this week. It's the college football game of the year, 10-1. 91% winners. Almost shortchanged there for a second, but just been a tremendous run for you.
It doesn't matter if you shortchange, as long as we put money in the pocket, money in the client's pocket, and that's what we do with this big game. But as far as this show's concerned, the best bet on the show is Pittsburgh, Arizona, over the total. I look for these teams to go up and down the field and have a lot of fun doing it. I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it, too, because after the Saturday game is over, I'm going to collect on Tuesday. It's Tuesday's collection day, as you know. So these games come up once a year. There's a lot of good games throughout the year, and a lot of bad ones too, but there's a lot of good games, and every once in a while one comes up that just fits the bill. And we're down in the college season now. We've had a lot of games. We've looked at the players. We know the coaches. We know the injuries, and we see the line, and this line is wrong. Period. It's wrong. And I'm tapping out, I'm going to use your word, on this game. This is my college game of the year, 10-1-1 since 1999. That's 90%. And we're going to win this game big. And if by any chance it wouldn't win, the guarantee is you get all of my executive plays through the bowl games. This game is $29, 1-866-841-1655. Can't remember my own phone number. 1-866-841-1655. College game of the year. I'm going to unload on this game. You should too. Make sure you come back next week. We'll have a lot more information and a lot of winners.